We are at the entrance of the space, little forest, very close from Tarragona, from the city of Tarragona that we have commented some of the monuments in some previous chapters. At the entrance of the Roman aqueduct called Pont del Diablo, Devil's Bridge, because it was such a magnificent work that many centuries after the Roman civilization disappeared, then by the Middle Ages and later, the people they were absolutely astonished how such a perfect construction could be built, and they didn't believe it could be made by human brain, but by a superior force, as it would be that of an evil. So before we reach this great construction of the Roman times, one of the best preserved aqueducts, these conductions to carry the the water that when it was a valley, so in order to lift the conduct, so the water was going up again, they were using this system of arches, arcades, in order to so the water was saving the gap, the valley, and continue until normally entering into a city. And from the city, it was collected the water from one or several conductions of water, like in the Great Roma, there were like many aqueducts, and normally they was collected in one so-called aqua castellum. Visiting a monument like this outside Tarragona, like also the next chapter will cover another place that is World Heritage declared by UNESCO, an old stone quarry, also give us the opportunity to enjoy the nature and to see some of the most common species present in the Mediterranean forest and low forest. These type of bushes that well, we have seen the most dominant tree that is the pine tree, white pine tree. Here we have a plant in Catalan called yentiscle that in the old times was used for a kind of sticky gum. Here we have a wild olive trees. From the Roman times, another of the great things, the Romans they spread the olive tree and the agriculture connected to it was brought by the Greeks. North of Catalonia was a colony, but it was with the Romans that it was fully spread, and also for the agriculture especially, and for the export import, and as they were so many, and still there are so many, so some of them they split outside and they become like wild olive trees. Here we have a type of quercus, so from the family of the oak, but resistant to the drought and to the very high temperatures of summer. Here one of the many stones of made of calc, limestone. So before here, like in the Miocene, many eras before, was covered by the sea, and slowly the shell and the very same sedimentation of the water when the kind one gets dry. So was leaving layers of calcium, of calc, and so from here also comes this kind of yellowish white color, all this Mediterranean area. Remember, we are in northwest Mediterranean, very close from the city of Tarragona, that it was big capital of the Roman Empire, that it was divided in provinces. One of the major, the biggest province of the Roman Empire was called Tarraconensis or Hispania Citerior, and the capital was Tarragona. That's why it was on a population of approximately 25, 30,000 inhabitants. The historians they don't know for sure exactly, but it had to be properly fit with water supply system, and therefore the aqueduct. That now in a moment after this forest walk, we are going to start seeing the magnificent arches that after almost 2000 years still conserves all the soundness and perfection of the construction. So all the vegetation from this Mediterranean dry climate, especially in summer, the annual average rainfall is about 350 liters per square meter. That would be an amount of water setting this area of the Mediterranean in the verge of semi-arid. So not really arid, but also not obviously humid, especially by summer and winter. Therefore, the plants they have developed in these warm climates a technique of resistance against the heat. So in the leaf they have a cover, kind of waxy cover, and that makes them much more resistant to the drought. We have seen the Camerops humilis, kind of palm bush, very common here as in Sardinia, in south of France, in the Mediterranean area. Here an asparagus plant that at certain times, so you can find these asparagus, but not obviously the ones from the farms, kind of white, but green and much more thinner. That they are used here especially to make omelette. So you chop it in little bits, the asparagus, and then so you make a nice omelette. And look over there, in front of us, we already can see this simplicity of the construction that comes from the round arch. You can imagine how difficult it is to make an aqueduct with the right inclination. Because if you make the aqueduct, the conduction that is on the top of the second flight, of the second level of arches, if you make it very steep, so in a couple of months or years, has erosionate the conduction. And if you make it flat, so the water doesn't run. Or if you make it on the contrary direction, so it would be a disaster. So it had to be like an inclination all along from one point to the other of 1 degree. And so that gives us an idea of how masters they were the Romans in the science of topography, of calculating the distance and the height in between different points. And then the construction system, as later in the Romanesque or actually quite recently, they were putting a so-called cintra, a wooden arch, and around or at the sides of it until they placed the top stone, the keystone. So it was the moment when, after surrounding this wooden arch, they were placed all the ashlars, the cintra, the wooden structures could be taken out. And just for a matter of pressures and tractions and all the forces that they are at work in such a construction, they didn't need mortar. So in many cases, the Romans they didn't use mortar; it was more used for the cladding. When they wanted to make a nice palace or temple outside of these raw stones, they were cladding it with marble. Then this one when probably they were putting mortar. Well, that is a kind of limestone coming from here nearby, Lumakela. It's of maritime origin. It's mixed obviously with sand, so it's a so-called calcarenite, relatively recent. It's not from the times of the dinosaurs or even before, from the Paleozoic. It is already from the so-called Tertian era and relatively easy to cut. That's why it was much used for many constructions in the city of Tarragona and outside, like this aqueduct. You can see the great size of the ashlars and how they have this kind of relief, bossage. That was a way to economize. They didn't need to make it beautiful, let us say. So they were saving hours of labor work or slave work, so they let it with this kind of more raw aspect. There is a particularity in this aqueduct that the bases, the pillars of the first level, they have this pyramidal shape. From the first side, we would think, well, absolute regularity. There is always the same width in all the arches, but actually it's not like this. As they go to the sides, slowly, they go smaller and with a shorter diameter. So the force of the arches, the spandrel, that is the junction of the two arches, unloads in the so-called impost. It's kind of easy capital of the pillars, and then in the second level, there is no these pyramidal shaped pillars. They are perfectly standing or regular from foot to top. They also have an impost, and except for the upper part, so the conduction, the rest has been untouched for centuries. Only minor restorations, like when there was a hole in a big ashlar, so maybe they have put some mortar. But for the rest, the ashlars, as it was so perfectly built, and by the junction of pressures and tractions, it holds by itself. So it has been not necessary to make any reparation. There is also a difference that as the from the conduction on the top to the bottom is not that high anymore, so a single arch it's enough to hold the pressure or the thrust from above. But as you go more to the bottom of the valley, they say, well, if we risk to make a single arch that the pillars will be very high, then it will collapse. That is why we need to put a kind of floor in between. And from here they come the two levels or the two floors of arches. And actually here where we are focusing now is this change in between an aqueduct that is made of two floors, two levels, and at the sides, because there is not so much height to save, is when a single arch suffices to comply with the job. Well, now we are moving slowly to see the exit of the water. So the water was coming from the right, from a river nearby. Actually, it was not the only conduction bringing water to the so-called Colonia Julia Triumphalis Tarraco, that still bears more or less this name, Tarragona, Tarraco in the Roman times, Tarragona. So it was coming from the right, taken from a river, and normally, if they could do it, so it was by a conduction on the earth. But then, when they found a kind of valley, it's when they had to build such aqueducts, and so it was running to the left, the water. So the city of Tarragona is by there, and from here, with a conduction always covered, and inside the conduction, whether it was an aqueduct or by the earth, or in a kind of little tunnel. It was a system of making it absolutely permeable inside with a mix of very fine mortar. Unlike this, so the force of the water didn't waste much the conduction. So as we were saying, the Romans they were calculating everything in order that it was fitting adequately the different parts of the valley. That's why here at the sides, the arches they are much smaller. Here we have another flower very common here, the cistus, stepa in Catalan. All of them sclerotic plants, so called, that they can endure these very harsh climatic conditions. We are just at the beginning of the summer, so at the peak of the summer, it's even more dry and no water, but the plants have this system of resistance, so it's like closing them down, different from the very fine leaves of a tropical area, for example. Here they are more hard and normally so everlasting. And from the top also we have a very good view of the whole length and height of the aqueduct. It's approximately 200 meters long, a bit more, and something like 60, 70 meters high on the center, so at the bottom of the valley. And over there, in front of us, a bit to the left, is from where the water was running. And as said, it seems like perfectly horizontal, but always for the water to continue moving, they had to be slightly leaning to one direction. Here, more of these plants and bushes typical of the Mediterranean. Yeah, there is the presence of bushes like rosemary, thyme. Here again, these Camarops humilis. These plants, all of them very resistant to the drought. And yeah, with this good view of the aqueduct, Al Pont del Diablo, Devil's Bridge, we will finish a construction that is from the Flavian period, like the amphitheater and parts still to be seen of the circus. It's from this period of Vespasian, Titus, when some of these most impressive buildings they were built. Yeah, so we'll finish with this view of this integration of the aqueduct into the surrounding nature and even the sky, the yellow color of the limestone with this very sunny day by early June.